Dragon Masters. Power of the Fire Dragon. By Tracey West. Illustrated by Graham Howells. Chapter 1. Hold your fire. Vulcan, no! Rory yelled. Her big, red dragon shot fire from his mouth. The fire hit a bush. The bush burst into flames. Shoo, quickly! Bo called out. A blue dragon darted through the air. A stream of water flowed from her mouth onto the fire. Thank you, Shoo, said Bo, petting his water dragon. Vulcan, Rory said to her dragon. I said to hold your fire. Maybe he only heard fire, said Drake, trying to be helpful. Drake was 8 years old and a dragon master. His friends Rory, Bo, and Anna were dragon masters, too. A magic stone called the Dragon Stone had chosen them. And each of them had a dragon to care for and train. Today all 4 dragon masters and their dragons were in the Valley of Clouds behind King Roland's castle. They were getting ready for a special event. Rory, you must keep Vulcan under control, warned Griffith, the wizard who trained the dragon masters. He turned to the others. King Roland will be here soon. He wants to see what your dragons can do. Is he really going to take us and our dragons to the kingdom of Arkwood? Asked Anna. Her dark eyes were shining. I've heard that Queen Rose's summer festival is wonderful. Yes, Griffith replied. The king plans to show off the dragons at the festival. Then the dragons won't be a secret any longer, said Drake. We can finally tell our families about them. And everyone will see what an amazing dragon Vulcan is. Rory added. Griffith looked worried. What's wrong, Griffith? Asked Anna. I do not know if it is safe to bring the dragons out, he replied. I tried to tell King Roland about Maldred the Dark Wizard. I told him that Maldred might be planning to attack. The king just laughed and said he was not afraid of any old wizard. But Maldred is dangerous, Drake said. He spied on us. His dark magic made Capri sick. And he almost stole the dragon stone. Griffith nodded. I know. Rory balled up her fists. If Maldred attacks, Vulcan and I will stop him. Vulcan is the strongest dragon ever. Bo looked at Drake and shook his head. Rory was always bragging about Vulcan. You are brave, Rory, said Griffith. But you and Vulcan have not made a connection yet. Until you do, you must be careful. Rory's face got red, and she looked away. Each of the dragon masters wore a piece of the magical dragon stone. When they were connecting with their dragons, their stone glowed green. Drake, like Bo and Anna, could hear his dragon's voice inside his head. But this had not happened to Rory yet. And Drake knew it bugged her to be last. We may not have connected yet, Rory said. But that doesn't mean we couldn't fight Maldred if he attacked. Just then, a soldier walked into the valley. All welcome King Roland the Bold. Chapter 2. The Dragon Show. King Roland marched across the grass. He was a big man with red hair and a bushy beard. 6 guards marched behind him. The dragons are looking fine, wizard, he said in his booming voice. He nodded at Worm. Even that brown one. The king has never seemed to like Worm, Drake thought. So what if he looks like a big brown worm? He is a powerful earth dragon. I'm glad that you are pleased, your majesty, said Griffith. I am not pleased yet, the king said. I need to see what these beasts can do. This is the first time that I will show my dragon army to the world. When we march into the kingdom of Arkwood, everyone will be amazed. Anna stepped forward. They're not an army. They're just dragons. A guard glared at Anna. "Silence, girl," he barked. "They are more than just dragons," said the king. "When word gets out that my kingdom is protected by dragons, nobody will dare attack us." Maldred might attack us, Drake thought. But he did not say that out loud. If the king didn't listen to Griffith's warning, he won't listen to mine. Griffith clapped his hands. "Dragon Masters, let us show King Roland what you can do. Please line up." The Dragon Masters had practiced for days. Drake felt excited. He couldn't wait for King Roland to see Worm's powers. Griffith turned to the king. "First, I would like to present Bo and Shu, his water dragon." Bo stepped forward and bowed. Then he waved his hand at Shu. Shu floated in the air above them. Her blue scales shimmered. She opened her mouth and a stream of water came out. It flowed in a circle around them all. Then the water turned into misty droplets and fell to the ground. King Roland nodded, smiling. "And now, I present Anna and Kepri, her son dragon," Griffith announced. Anna climbed onto Kepri and sat in the saddle. She patted her neck. Then the slim, white dragon flew up into the sky. Kepri did what she did best. She swirled and looped in the air. On her way down, Shu sprayed misty water into the air. Kepri sent a sunbeam out of her mouth. Together, they made a rainbow. "Ugh," said the guards. Even King Roland was staring in wonder. "Rory and her fire dragon are next," said Griffith, pointing. Drake was nervous. It would be his and Worm's turn soon. First, Vulcan would shoot fire in the air, where it couldn't hurt anything. Then Worm would use his mind powers to lift all three dragons in the air. He watched as Rory and Vulcan flew up, up, up. "Vulcan, fire!" Rory yelled. Vulcan didn't listen. He flew down to the ground. When he landed, he let out a loud roar. Whoosh! A stream of fire shot from his mouth. Then a strong wind blew through the valley. "No, Vulcan!" Rory yelled. The flame charged right at King Roland. Chapter 3. What about Worm? The fire rode the wind, closing in on King Roland. Scared, his guards all jumped back. Suddenly, an invisible force knocked King Roland out of the fire's path. Drake looked at Worm. His dragon was glowing green. Drake knew that Worm had used his mind powers to save the king. The fire swept past the king and died out. Two guards helped King Roland to his feet. "I am fine," he said, brushing them away. Then he pointed at Vulcan. "No thanks to this dragon." "But it was the wind!" Rory protested. "Silence," yelled King Roland. "I cannot have this dragon setting Queen Rose's castle on fire." He nodded toward Shu and Kepri. "I'll take these two." "What about Worm?" Drake piped up. "He just saved you." "Saved me?" "I think not." "One of my guards pushed me out of the way," the king said. He looked at his guards. They all nodded. "It wasn't a guard," Drake insisted. He looked over at Anna and Bo. He could see they felt bad for him. Rory still looked mad about Vulcan. "Drake speaks the truth, Your Majesty," Griffith said. "Worm moved you with the power of his mind." "Impossible," the king said. "This plain, brown dragon could not have such strange powers." "Kepri and Shu will be the only dragons going to the kingdom of Arkwood tomorrow." The king turned and stomped away. His guards marched behind him. Drake sighed, patting his dragon. "It's not fair," he said to Worm. I know how great you are. Why won't the king believe us? Oh, Chapter 4. A wizard for a babysitter. Stop pushing me, Rory shouted. I'm not pushing you, Drake said, moving away from her on the bench. It was the next morning. Griffith had asked Rory and Drake to sit quietly in the training room while the others got ready. Stop bickering, you two, he said. Stay out of trouble until Diego gets here. I will not leave for the kingdom of Arkwood without another wizard here to watch over the castle. Then Griffith went to help Bo and Anna with their dragons. Sitting on the bench was boring. Drake kept squirming. And Rory kept complaining. Why does Diego have to come watch us? She asked. We don't need a babysitter. Well, maybe Griffith just wants to make sure that Vulcan doesn't set the castle on fire, Drake said. He knew it was kind of a mean thing to say. But Rory was really bugging him. Rory's green eyes flared. It was the wind! Maybe, but Vulcan was supposed to shoot his fire high up in the air, Drake reminded her. And because you can't control your dragon, Worm didn't get to show what he can do. Poof! The argument ended when a short, round wizard appeared in front of them. Rory and Drake. Good. Please come with me, Diego said. They followed Diego to Griffith's workshop. Diego pushed some papers off a table. He pulled a glass ball the size of a large onion from his pocket. Next, he put a circle-shaped stand on the table and rested the ball on it. Come, look in the gazing ball, he said, waving his hand over it. Let's see what we can see. What are we looking for? Rory asked. Some sign of Maldred, Diego replied. And his four-headed dragon? Drake asked. The one you saw in your dream the last time you were here? Well, Diego began. Rory interrupted him, but we don't even know what Maldred looks like, she pointed out. Diego took a book from another pocket. He put it on the table and opened it to a page. That's Maldred, he said. Diego pointed to a picture of a wizard with a pointy chin. He wore an eye patch over his left eye. He had a black mustache and a long black beard with a white stripe. But I am not looking for Maldred's face in the gazing ball, Diego explained. I am looking for a red mist, a sign of his dark magic. Drake couldn't look away from the picture. The dark wizard seemed to stare at Drake right from the page. He was glad when Diego closed the book. Rory and Drake crowded around to look in the gazing ball with Diego. There was no red mist. Just a white fog. Welcome, Diego, Griffith called, walking into the workshop. So should I be worried about Maldred while I am gone? We should always be worried about Maldred, Diego replied. But there is no sign of his magic in the gazing ball. And if anything happens, I will keep your dragon master safe. I know you will, friend, said Griffith. Then he turned to Drake and Rory. Come, he said. It is time to see us off. Griffith swept out of the room. Chapter 5. They found Bo and Anna in the training room, standing next to their